Okay, welcome to Voice of the Box. I've got the pleasure of Mike Eaby joining me from Westwood One Radio. Mike, you've got a pretty cool role, cool being a good term, within the radio business. Instead of me explaining it, maybe you could explain your role, how long you've been doing what you've been doing with Westwood One Radio.
Well, I'm the Director of Sports for Westwood One Radio. I've been on the road now, I guess, about 10 or 11 years. I go out and produce the different events. We do about 56 games a year, and we go on site to about 4 or 5 games every weekend, and I'm one of the producers that's lucky enough to go out and make sure the broadcast happens, bring it together. It's a lot of prep during the week. Game day, obviously it's a little crazy, but we get it done. So
you just mentioned a lot of things that obviously beg a few extra questions too. Just to clarify, because you made that sound so simple, a radio broadcast, coming to life, coming over the airwaves. When you say produce, just an example of what your game day is like, rather. We'll talk a little about the prep maybe just in a second, but what time you get to the stadium and what actually happens in a two-man radio booth. You've got your play-by-play and your color, and who else is in the booth and what's going on?
It's a lot. Do we have 10 minutes, 15 minutes here, Matt? No.
We'll cut it down to maybe 30 seconds.
No. I don't want to simplify my role here,
right,
Matt. But no. I get to the stadium about 3.5 hours before we kick off. We usually go on the air about a half hour, quick half-hour pregame show. Half of it's from the studio, half of it's from on site. And we have a play-by-play guy in the booth and a color analyst, sometimes a sideline reporter. I have an engineer in the booth with me. He sets up all the equipment, makes sure everything technically is sound.
Right.
I make sure that everyone is in sync. I make sure that the commercials air, that all the sponsors, their mentions get read on the air. That's obviously number one and important.
Yeah, paycheck is good.
That's right. And just make sure that everyone knows what's happening next. I always need to be one step ahead of the play. I need to know, okay, if there's a touchdown here, a whistle here, what we're going to do next. And so I always need to make sure that I'm just one step ahead, and I'm always thinking ahead. And, everyone has questions. I just got to be ready to answer.
Mike's making this sound pretty easy. I've actually worked for Mike on a number of different occasions. I really do have a feel of what goes on in that booth, and it's a lot of different moving pieces, and Mike manages all of that. How did you get your start in this, pretty unique behind-the-scenes job? And we're just talking about pro football. I know you do this in other sports, which we'll touch on, but how did you get your start?
Yeah, I went to college, and I grew up playing sports, loving sports. I wanted to do something in sports. I got to college. I got into the radio station, the TV station a little bit. I went to Shippensburg University in D2 school in Pennsylvania. And
home of the
Red Raiders.
Did not know that. All right.
Lost in the quarterfinals D2 championship this year. But, I just wanted to stay in sports somehow, stay involved. Okay. Always grew up. So, I got involved in the radio station at Shippensburg, and I realized, this is something I like. But I will say this. Like most producers, it just means we're not talented enough to be on the air. I was on the air in school, and I wanted to be an on-air guy, but I realized pretty early on I wasn't good enough to make it to the highest level. Whereas if I stayed behind the scenes, now I'm doing all the cool events.
Right.
And that's why I stayed in it, and they just liked what I did, and they kept giving me more and more responsibility, more and more events, and you get to a point where you're like, okay, you can make a career out of this, so sure, let's just give it a shot. And I've had so much fun, and I've seen so many things and done so many different things. It's experiences I'll never forget.
Now, a great leadway into another question. You've got more responsibilities over the years, and you've got, I think you said 56 games. That's both the college and the NFL schedule. What other sports, when football season's over, Mike Eaby does what with Westwood One Radio?
Mike Eaby's schedule is a little crazy this year because we have the Winter Olympics.
Okay.
So I will do either the NFC or AFC championship game, and a week and a half later, I'm actually missing the Super Bowl this year, which I try not to do, but I'm missing it for the first time in 4 years because I need to go to Vancouver.
Got it.
So I will be in Vancouver for 4 weeks, coordinating our Olympic coverage.
Okay.
And I come back from Vancouver March 1st, which leads us right into March Madness. So I've got the NCAA tournament. I'll be on the road there a couple weekends in a row, and
the man is busy.
Then I'll be at the Masters.
So it just doesn't stop. What advice was given to you either, back at your D2 university, home of the Raiders, I believe you said, that maybe has stuck with you, that's, resonated, that you would maybe in turn would impart to someone else that's looking to perhaps get into radio production of some capacity?
The one advice that stuck with me, we had someone come in my freshman year from a local TV station, and while I don't condone everything he said, because he kind of said grades don't matter, grades do matter, but it's about the experience.
Sure.
If you're going to get into this field, they're really not going to say, Mike Eaby, he got a 4.0 in college. They're going to say he worked at the radio station, he started his own talk show at the radio station, he was a director at the radio station, he went out and did play-by-play at the radio station, he did TV station, I did a little bit of writing for the school paper.
Practical experience.
It's all about experience. Internships, I mean, it's really doing everything you can possibly do, getting in and meeting the right people.
Gut reaction answers to these questions, and you can protect names if you really feel. This isn't going out to the masses other than the one person that watches this weekly. Thanks, Mom. Easiest broadcasters to work with and why?
There are a lot, I will say that. There are several, Matt. Ian Eagle, one of the greatest guys in business, one of the nicest guys in business. Bob Trumpy, I miss him as a color analyst. I know you've worked with him as well on Sunday nights back in the day. Love Trump. Kevin Harlan now is on Monday nights. A lot of our guys are really actually easy. I don't want to name everybody, but because there are a lot.
No. All right, how about
because then I'll leave somebody out, and then you'll start wondering.
This isn't an acceptance speech, so I know how that goes. How about this? Uh-oh, we got a phone call in the middle of an interview. Do we have to take it?
It is game day, man.
It is game day. You are busy. How about this, just to kind of give us a flavor of. Now I see the phone kind of made me lose my track here. That's how I go.
Can I throw Dave Sims' name out while you're
please
thinking
while
about
I recover?
Dave is one of my good friends, and he is fantastic to work with.
Biggest challenge in a summary. Biggest challenge about you're producing a live unscripted event. Biggest challenge.
When something technically goes wrong, and I have a hard time with that because I don't have control over that.
Right.
When it's something I can't control. And especially since it's not my job, technically, to set up the equipment and to deal with equipment. When something like that goes wrong, I just feel like I should be doing something, but there's nothing that I can do because it's not actually part of my job. So when something goes wrong technically, that's the most frustrating, and it can create a lot of problems because sometimes that means you're not on the air, you can't get on the air, you're scrambling to get on the air.
Not good.
No.
How about the flip side of that, since we try to remain positive here on this show? What gives you the biggest challenge? What keeps you coming back? You've been doing this for a while. What is that one thing that keeps you coming back?
Well, it is, and you asked me about it a little bit earlier. It's working with people. It's working with individuals like yourself, who I love working with. I love working with the guys.
I didn't pay them.
But it really is. It's the relationships.
Right.
I love working with mostly everybody we work with, and I will say this: just a little bit of the high of being at a game too.
Absolutely.
I have a lot of friends that aren't in this business, and they're very interested in what I do, where I'm at, where are you this week, who are you working with this week. So it sort of keeps me going. It's it keeps things exciting at dinner on Saturday night.
Well, Mike Eaby from Westwood One Radio, appreciate you taking the time. The man is really producing Monday Night Football tonight. Check him out on Westwood One Radio. You'll hear his name probably at the end of pretty much every broadcast you do.
That or when they make fun of me during the broadcast.
All right, hopefully that won't happen. Mike, thanks for taking time right here on Voice of the Box.
Appreciate it.